What's up, guys? You are listening to the Lifestyle Hub, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes and into the lives of inspiring individuals to not only educate you, but unlock your true potential to live a healthy, happy, active, and more fulfilling life. I'm your host, Jason Grima. Thank you for joining me today. Let's get this show on the road. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, the leading home and commercial gym specialist in the Middle East, Ghana Fitness Supplies. You can check them out at www.ghana.ae for all your fitness needs. Alrighty, guys, welcome to episode 5 of the podcast. It is pretty crazy that we are at episode 5 already. It's also pretty crazy that we've had so much interaction from you over the last couple of weeks. I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you for listening. I did say this last time I had a single or a solo session here, just me on episode 3. But honestly, between each episode, week to week, the feedback, the encouragement, the reviews have been absolutely amazing. So I appreciate it. It is something out of my comfort zone. I feel like each podcast is getting a little bit more comfortable for me, and I'm really happy to have you guys along from the ride from day one. So thank you for joining. Obviously, as you know, the podcast that's with just myself, generally we try to tackle some topics, which I will address shortly, so you know exactly what we're talking about today. You've obviously already clicked today's episode based on the topic, and I'm assuming it's something you are quite interested in knowing more about. But first, let's just have a little bit of a weekly review. I'm just trying to think what's happened in the last week. It's been busy. Things are ramping up for March. That kind of dip from that New Year's, all those New Year's resolutions has dropped off, and people are kind of at the point where it's like, you know, do they push on and keep following their intended targets for the year, or do they actually fall off the wagon and, you know, before they know it, it's December again and they're trying to reset their New Year's resolutions. So I've been on a bit of a warpath on my social media and in the gym, trying to make sure that people realize that this is all part of it. The momentum has dropped off. Now that motivation has dropped off. You need to now stick and look at things like habits and small consistent steps that you've taken since Jan to help push you through this next, I would say, 3 months leading into summer. Summer's usually the time over here in Dubai where most people tend to travel. So it is so important now to kind of keep yourselves on track and keep yourselves moving. And I'm kind of absolutely sick and tired of the excuses that I keep hearing. And I'm not going to hop into it because I'm doing a lot of that on my socials. But all I wanted to say is this. Excuses always are going to lead to regret. So if you see yourself making excuses, try and stop yourself for a second and write it down. And then over the course of that 7-day period, just keep writing down every time you make an excuse. You don't have to share this with anyone, but just write it down for yourself, because ultimately it's going to always be you versus you. And I can guarantee you that at the end of the week, when you look at all the reasons why you may have skipped the gym or rocked up late to work or eaten that thing you weren't really planning on eating or spending the money that you were trying to save, write down those reasons that you tried to justify to yourself and take a little bit of a look at how ridiculous they probably seem. I'm obviously the first person to receive a lot of those messages, and honestly, that's why I'm on a warpath at the moment. But it's not about me versus, you know, my team. I'm here to help them. But most importantly, I think for everybody out there, it's no one's going to help you more than yourself. And that's something you really need to keep in mind. So that's why try that little exercise. If you see yourself making excuses, get yourself back on track as quick as you can. All it takes is just one positive step in the right direction to get you back on track. So that is my 2 cents before the episode starts today. I hope that might have helped some of you out there. So today's podcast, okay, are you sick of being the skinny guy or the skinny girl? That's this week's episode. And I'm very excited for this one. There is going to be a few little differences today, which I will mention shortly. But what do I mean by that title? What do I mean by the skinny guy or the skinny girl? Basically, this podcast is for you. If you feel like you've always had trouble putting on any form of weight, shape, size, muscle, this is for you. People will say toning as well. That word's often used when it comes to shaping up or building muscle. This is for you. This is for me to give you a little bit of an insight into how you can take some simple steps to try to build the shape or the physique or the composition that you've always wanted. Sometimes it's a lot easier than you think. And I think a lot of the time people are self-sabotaging themselves without really realizing. So I want to try and clear the air with this and give you guys some info. So the first thing to obviously think about is there's a few different steps when it comes to starting at at skinny. Okay. Now, I myself, something a lot of people don't know is I was a skinny guy when I grew up. So I wasn't somebody that was really overweight. I was 71 kilos. I was skin and bone going through primary school. I remember like I'd fallen over, broke my arm, just tripping over onto the floor because I had no real strength or muscle tissue. I broke my collarbone twice trying to play rugby. I didn't even really get into an actual tackle. The first one was actually I just jumped on the ball. So I went to go for a try, dived on the ball, and it just jarred. And then I moved my arm in a circle and it just cracked. So that was my collarbone. Then I cracked it again when I tried to go back to playing too early. So I had no tissue, no muscle, no fat on me. And I was actually quite weak. Luckily, when I was playing football, I was really fast and I was quite agile. So I was able to kind of get away with being a little bit more skinny. As the times progressed, though, I could feel the pressure of being skinny. At school, I was a skinny guy. I was called the Gazelle, which like was a cool nickname if I wanted to be fast, but I actually wanted to be like big. So for me, it was kind of like not really like a nickname that I really wanted. And it was definitely something that I became more and more self-conscious of. And then as I got into my teens, I was like trying to make the shift and saying, no, I want to get bigger. I want more muscle tissue. So I made it a commitment to hit the gym. I did a lot of research on how to do that, but I kept going wrong. Basically, I would eat and eat and eat all day long. I was hitting the gym 5-6 days a week. I was also playing football 3 days a week, training in a 90-minute game on the weekends, which you don't realize the amount of calories that you actually burn playing any sort of sport, especially a football game. And that's not something that I really took into account. So I was just training, trying to eat, never feeling like I was getting any bigger. I was taking mass gainers, which is basically protein with a high amount of carbs and high calories to try and just, supplement my food because I couldn't eat enough food. And I was never really getting anywhere. I just couldn't get any bigger. So I was getting leaner and I had a little bit of shape and a little bit of muscle, but I was never actually getting bigger. That scale was never going up. So it wasn't until I actually invested time with a trainer, my good friend now, Dave Kramer, who, when I moved into the PT world, first thing I did was I saw somebody and I was like, he has a physique that I'd definitely love to have. He is quite solid, quite built, a very strong guy. And I hit him up for training and straight away he's like, yeah, we're going wrong because you're basically burning more calories than you're consuming. So even though I was eating so much food, I was burning so much energy that I was actually always ending up by the end of the week actually in a calorie deficit. So for me to actually gain weight was almost impossible. This is where the transition from football started to diminish and I started to go, look, football's not really my priority. I'm not making it into that upper level now. That boat sailed, unfortunately, but I do want to get bigger. I mean, for myself, obviously to attract more girls, feel more confident, get a bit more rep from the guys, that kind of stuff. That's honestly the reason at the time when you're 18, 19, that's what you want. And we just went on a hectic bulk where I was eating 4,000 calories a day for basically 18 months. I remember it was crazy. I was smashing so much food that I could have. I was having peanut butter, muesli bars. I was having salami sandwiches every day at work. It was crazy. But I went from 71 kilos all the way to 92 kilos. I focused on heavy compound lifts in the gym and I was getting a little bit fat towards the 92 mark, and I'll put some photos. We'll try and get some images of those out so you guys can see. But I was getting pretty chunky, and that's where we decided to say, hey, stop, then let's cut back down. So I don't want to give too much away with my story because I will break it down very shortly. But you can just kind of see that I know a lot about this topic. I've kind of been through the steps. I went from 71 to 92. I dropped back down. Since then, I always sat between 80 to 90 kilos, and I've just fluctuated between body fat levels. But I've always been around that 80 to 90 mark. And that's where I feel like my most agile, my most fit, my physique's usually the most athletic. But it took a while to get there. And unfortunately, a lot of people end up spending a lot of their life and a lot of their time just hitting the gym every single day and not seeing those changes. And it goes two ways. That person just keeps training and never changes, or they get to a point where they're sick of it because they don't see the change and they give up. And hopefully this podcast might help you, whether you're male or female, actually kind of see if you're going wrong somewhere along that line. All right. So guys, I'm very excited. Today we are going to be joined by two guests. I've been trying to keep that from you for a little bit to start with. We will use that to our advantage, hopefully, to get some listeners on, because I think you guys are probably going to be more interested to hear about the guests that I'm introducing than probably the episode. But we have two very special guests, which I'm going to explain. Our first guest is Mr. Issa. He is the content director, media expert of Dubai right now. He is absolutely trending. He's working with every creator there is in this city right now, and he's obviously the man behind the podcast and the producer of all the visuals, the sound, the edits on the videos that you guys are all giving me amazing feedback about. So he's very talented. He's also only 20 years old, so he's got a big and bright future ahead, but he is the skinny guy right now, and he's going to be joining us very shortly we're going to just have a little bit of a chat and see where he's going potentially wrong, and give you guys that little bit of a feel like, you can see from his perspective, and I'm going to kind of just be a bit more of a mentor and give him some advice. We've also got one other guest, but I will save the introduction shortly for her, just to keep you guys listening. I don't want you to turn the podcast off just yet. So the transition into the gym, guys. So basically the most important thing is you need to factor a few things. You need to think about calorie intake. So that's step number one. You need to think about your basal metabolic rate, so how many calories you're burning daily, the calories you're ingesting, and what type of food energy sources you're getting that food from. So you want to make sure that that's you're taking in calories, but they're from clean sources. So those are that's under the first step. You need to work out what your BMR is. From there, we can start to then analyze like your output. So are you burning an excessive amount of calories? Are you exercising too much, too little? That's kind of the next area that we need to address when it comes to training, the style of training, what your goal is. Then from there, we can look at equipment. Are you training in a gym? Are you training at home? Are you from a sports team? Are you working with a coach? Experience. This would obviously dictate the intensity. This would dictate the programming that you'd be put through. It would also dictate the potential intake of calories that you would have. For somebody that's less experienced, new to the gym, just to throw them on a 4,000 calorie bulk is pretty brutal, and it's something that can have people kind of turning away, as soon as it starts. So it's experience level is another important factor. Food budget, this one sounds stupid, but how much do you have to spend on groceries per week? Because it can get expensive bulking, but you can be smart about it. There's plenty of ways to be smart to help ingest more calories without spending all of your savings on extra food. But obviously keeping into account the type of calories will depend on the pricing, what's convenient and easy for you to do amongst busy schedules, because preparing more food can be hard. And this is why a lot of people just end up eating less. You've got two sides of that coin, but today we're talking about the skinny guy, the skinny girl. So I'm going to speak from kind of their perspective, but they're the people that just tend to miss meals, and they're probably too busy, not really allocating time to eat. And before they know it, the day's done, and they're like, oh yeah, but I didn't eat much today. I should be all good. I'm eating clean, etc. But it's yeah, but you're also not eating anything. So, are you developing muscle tissue? You're not really able to lift heavier or higher in the gym. Is your recovery, being shortchanged because of the lack of calories or nutrients? So that's something to keep in mind as well. And then obviously the big one that kind of is the heading for all of those small little, pillars is the time frame. The longer the better. If you're looking to kind of gain a large amount of size or shape in a short period, you're going to have to take into account that the chances of you actually just developing pure muscle tissue is a lot less likely, and you're probably going to be carrying a fair bit of fat with a very aggressive bulk. And that can sometimes be counterproductive, because what could happen is you say, hey, look, I'm going to put on 10 kilos in 6 weeks. And so you start eating as many calories as you can. You start trying to train hard in the gym. But the likelihood, unless you're a first-time lifter, where you will get a decent amount of muscle tissue just initially starting any sort of strength training, that does wear off. And if you're kind of, 6 to 12 weeks, 3 months, or 6 months into a training program, you won't develop muscle tissue that quickly. So what will generally happen is you'll just put on a lot of fat. People make the mistake of choosing the calories that they want to consume as anything can do. Just get anything in, which does work at a certain point to a certain extent. But it will have a major significance on how much fat you actually put on. And then you're left with a problem, because what happens is you put on 10 kilos of fat, you don't look any different. You look like shit. You feel like shit. And then you try and drop the weight off, or you just don't drop the weight off, and then you're back to square one. So it's all about developing the right kind of shape. So the longer time frame is always better. So there are our main pillars. I'm going to get our first guest into the hot seat now, which is really cool because we haven't had a guest on before in the home setup. which is something that I do want to encourage over the next couple of months. We're going to try and have a guest with me some weeks just to kind of, spice things up a little bit, who will join us outside of the Lifestyle Hub HQ. And we'll have a bit more of a casual chat. So I'd like to invite Issa into the hot seat, and we are going to have a chat for you guys now. Alrighty, so salam alaikum, Issa Rasul.
Walaikum salam, Jason, how are you?
Mate, this is amazing. I'm great, thank you.
Pleasure.
So, introduce yourself first of all. Let everybody know who exactly you are and how, I'll say how important you are after this, but give everyone a bit of an insight about who you are.
So my name is Issa Rasul. I'm 20 years old, and I run like a content creation kind of company. I work with different clients, mainly trainers, personal trainers, and people in the sports industry to create like short forms of content for them and their social media. And so far, I've been working at it for just about over a year now. I left university because it started working out pretty well, so thankfully. And Jason, I've been working with now for just over a month, but I know Jason actually from probably about 6 months ago. And yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so he obviously he plays himself. Yeah, you are the skinny guy. He 100% plays himself down. He's a very humble guy. But yeah, like you said, we met a couple of months ago. 6 months back. He's very talented, and he's going to be. You'll see a lot more of him. Basically, we're going to get him, chatting with me. It's always nice for me to have a bit of company where I can kind of like spitball. He's good at asking me questions that put me on the spot. Which for you guys, you'll probably like to see me on the spot a little bit with different difficult questions to answer. So you'll see a lot more of him. But unfortunately for him today, he is the skinny guy. He's being put on the spot here.
Yeah.
And the reason I put Issa on today as the skinny guy, well, you kind of also volunteered for that because I was thinking it would be good to speak with somebody who is going through that right now. I can very easily remember when I was Issa's age at 20 and I was trying to put on size. So, I wanted to kind of talk to him a little bit today. And I think I've been seeing you train in the gym all week, and we're just getting like you up and running with your program. And I think what I found funny, and I was surprised by it only because you spend so much time in the gym filming everybody train, that when I saw you train, I was like, all right, like there's some work to do here. Like, and you seem quite motivated.
Yeah.
I did see you throwing out some shadow boxing the other day, which was actually pretty fast. So talk to me about your experience in the gym. What have you done? Because you've definitely boxed for a little while.
So I did kickboxing when I was younger.
Okay.
For like I think it was like 4 to 5 years, and I got up pretty well in that. But then I stopped for a long time.
Yeah.
And just like in terms of sports, I've never really been that like sporty, like with football or anything. I just had like little phases here and there with, for example, like kickboxing, and then I went over to swimming. Yeah. This was all while I was living in the UK. I lived in the UK when I was younger. And then moving back here, I started jiu-jitsu, which is quite a popular sport in the UAE here. And just worldwide, it's much more popular now. I've been doing that for over a year now as well. And I took up boxing properly as well because I just thought it was a nice little combination to have, groundwork and striking. But yeah, that's what boxing, shadow boxing was about.
Because what I'm saying is I was impressed by that. So you've got the speed and the agility in your upper body, but now we're trying to look and focus on building size and getting bigger and stronger in the gym. Yeah. How are you finding that side of things?
Well, that is the most important part, right? To like aid that like sport, you need to kind of build your own body, right?
Yeah.
It is quite difficult trying to balance the two.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. They kind of go against each other because in the gym, obviously I'm the skinny guy, so I'm trying to put on weight. So trying to hold on to as much calories as I can and just train and then just get in as much protein and calories as I can later on.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, I'm training, for example, boxing after the gym as well, which is definitely like melting away a lot of calories as well, each session. So it's quite difficult, to be honest, to balance the two.
Yeah. So this is where I'm going to put you in the spot. So basically already, guys, we've identified that he is burning a high amount of calories. Okay. We've got the martial arts training, and then we're trying to now add in gym training. Yep. He's very active. He's like, when he's not editing, he's moving around most of the days. Like, but you do move around quite a bit. You're not sitting for like,
not really. No, not anymore.
Have you ever tracked like your steps or anything like that?
Not really. I think I get probably around 13,000, 15,000 approximately probably per day.
Yeah, he's relatively active, like moving in the gym and whatnot. So already we've identified that his output's very high. So which would definitely mean that if he's not intaking enough calories at this point, which I'm going to put him on the spot in a second and ask him how much he's eating, we can already identify that he's in a deficit and that he is not currently on a path to build any size, gain any weight. So how much are you eating in a day then? Based on that schedule, you're training twice more or less. You're working a full day behind the camera.
Yeah.
How much are you eating? What are you eating?
So, I mean, I was tracking my calories at first initially, like at some point last year, I just started. And my target, so right now I'm about 60 kilos, which is like nothing really. It's pretty skinny. And my target is probably about 70 where you were at when you were younger.
Yeah.
You put on 20 kilos?
20 kgs, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's actually...
Naturally, no enhancement shit.
We'll how long did that take you to do, by the way?
That took 18 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
it is possible.
It's 100%. It's possible.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm at 60 kilos and my goal is 70. So the target for me in terms of calories is about 3.5k calories, which is not far off what you were. It was 4k, right?
Yeah.
So, but how much am I actually eating?
How much? Yeah. So so this is great. So he set the target. He knows how many calories he should be having. He's done the math. I'll put a link below where you can actually do a calculator online where it's going to put your age, your weight, your height, all that kind of stuff. And you'll predict your BMR based on your activity level. Yep. And then it will suggest to you a baseline calories that you need to consume in order to gain, X amount of weight. And you can
0.5 per week.
Yeah, 0.5 per week or a kilo per week or whatever. Yeah. Again, like I said, the more time you do this, the better, because it's less chances that you'll put on excessive amounts of fat. You give your body more time to build muscle tissue. So he's done that. And now what's the actual facts? How much are you actually eating? So 3.5 is the target. Just quickly nutshell your day from breakfast. Okay. Quickly nutshell it.
So, mate, it's what
do you when you wake up?
So, waking up, that's the thing. There's no regular schedule. That's the worst part about it.
No routine.
So no routine in terms of food. So in the morning, it could be I have a shoot at 6 a.m. So I'm missing out on breakfast.
So you have nothing.
I might just be intermittent fasting. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm waking up pretty early. Like sometimes.
Yeah.
Other days I wake up and I go straight to editing.
Yeah.
So
what did you have yesterday morning?
Yesterday morning,
you told me this already.
Right. So see that. Okay. So yesterday morning was a one-off day where I did come in to shoot at 6 in the morning, into the gym, and there was just nothing around. So there was a McDonald's quite close by, and they do McDonald's breakfast, which is...
What did you get? Hotcakes? Or
Did I tell you this part? I didn't tell you.
No,
this
I didn't tell you. You didn't tell me.
So I got a sausage egg McMuffin.
Yeah.
Meal with with hash browns.
Okay.
And I did get hotcakes.
As well.
Yeah. But then I got an orange juice. So I kept it healthy to some extent, right?
Nice try. Oh, but so what he's done there is actually not necessarily a bad thing, because if you're currently trying to gain or take in calories, that as a one-off or a last-minute scramble is always going to be better for that skinny person to actually keep them on track to consuming their calories for the day. If all of their calories, that 3,000 was McDonald's, you're in trouble, because the levels of saturated fats, the cholesterol, the high amounts of carbs and salts and shit in these kind of foods, especially processed takeaway foods, is going to have detrimental effects on his health. But that's actually not a bad one-off. So even the way he was kind of describing that to me, he was like, oh, shit, McDonald's. It wasn't actually bad. Yeah. But how did the rest of the day go? So let's see. Where did you go after breakfast? So it's either fasting or something quick. Then what's next?
What was next? So I went straight back and I edited a video at the gym, at the cafe. And as soon as I was done, I got my leg day in.
Cool.
My leg day workout, basically, yeah. And then...
How was that?
That was detrimental, to say the least.
Yeah.
And
it was a tough one.
Yeah. Once that was done, I just bought myself a protein shake at the cafe. And then after that, I went to...
Can you guys see the problem here? He can't even think about what he's eating. Yeah. That just tells me that he's basically not eating that much. So after you were with me, we had nothing, basically.
Yeah, we went to...
water.
A meeting to meet. I was sponsored.
Yeah.
Ghana Fitness.
Ghana Fitness, shout out.
And then after that, we were going to have Macca's again.
We were going to, but I didn't. I was like, nah, this is going to go over my calories.
It was actually his idea, to be honest. But
this guy, we didn't have Macca's. He did try to throw me under the bus earlier, saying I did. We didn't do McDonald's, but then you got home. What did you have?
I got home and I had what did I have? I think I had chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice.
Yeah, which was pretty healthy. It was fun. Just
And that was it. That's your day.
And then After that, I had something unhealthy, but I don't remember what it was. But it was definitely something unhealthy again. It was just snack. Oh right, I had 3 donuts from Krispy Kreme.
Okay, 3 donuts.
I had to throw in calories. Yeah.
All right, so guys, let's just quickly break that down. Let's assume that McDonald's is about 1,000 calories. I'm being generous; it might be more or less. The McMuffins are actually good value for money. I always try to choose those. Again, we're not here to just crawl up Ronald McDonald's backside. This is not sponsored or anything. But basically, I'm just trying to get at the point that let's say he's had 1,000 calories for breakfast. Then we've had almost nothing.
Yeah.
So he's trained. You had a protein shake.
Yeah.
So you had some protein there. Maybe that's 160, 70 calories.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of protein from the meat in the McMuffin at the start of the day. He's had another serving of protein now. Maybe that's at 25 grams for the day. He probably should be close to the 200 gram of protein mark per day. So right now he's nowhere near, and it's already 2 p.m. Yeah. His calories are maybe at 1,200, 1,500 absolute tops.
Okay, not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not good because now you have so much food to also eat. When your protein has to get so much higher. So now you've gotten to dinner time and you've had chicken and rice. Let's assume that's, again, we're being generous, 600 calories. Yeah. You're at 1,800 for the day. Your protein maybe is at 60 grams, still short. Then you have your Krispy Kremes. Maybe that, let's say, again, we'll be generous. Let's say 100 calories a donut. That's 300. So you're at 2,100 calories for the day. And your target's 3,500 for you to be in a surplus. Yeah. So you're over 1,000 calories under your target. Yeah. So was yesterday a productive day to get towards your muscle gaining goal?
1,000 calories off.
So did we progress?
No, not all. That was not the way to go about it, for sure.
Exactly. We didn't progress yesterday, unfortunately. Even though we hit the gym, so maybe we learnt to improve on certain movements. Did we develop muscle tissue in that session? Unlikely, because Issa is a new trainer, so he's coming to the gym new. Like he's just getting into the strength training, so he's getting a little bit of gains. Yeah, he's getting some gains that way. But he didn't consume enough protein or calories to actually help or really assist the recovery process, and his body's actually gone into sleep mode, probably in a deficit. And he's woken up today probably feeling like, maybe a little bit less recovered, a little weaker. Definitely not hit your macros. So you can see how it's so easy for this. This could happen 6 days in a row, right?
Yeah,
for you.
Right, yeah. And totally wouldn't think of it at all, right?
Yeah. So what do you think you need to do to get yourself on track?
I think, in my opinion, it's just having a schedule and sticking by the schedule. I don't have a problem with sticking to a schedule, but I just don't have a schedule at all, because it's a bit difficult for me at the minute with like editing and filming and that kind of stuff, because like the times that I do edit and film, usually depend on, like, for example, the client's time to when they're working, right? So sometimes that could be 6 a.m., 6 p.m. in the evening, in the afternoon, whatever time. And then I kind of have to adapt my day around that, like in a sense where I have to go to training, I have to gym at a certain time, I have to eat at a certain time. And it's pretty much, it always feels as if like I'm just kind of like cramming all that stuff in to my day.
What does that mean? What's the solution for you to fix that?
So I would say probably the solution to that would be to have probably set filming times and editing times. Yeah. That's the problem, right?
What can you control? Because you can't control that necessarily. Because sometimes clients
probably
will
editing
ask.
Times, actually. Editing times I can control. Yeah. And what that would do is would at least kind of like have me where it's like if I'm editing every day in the morning, for example, that eliminates a lot of the time out in the evening and the afternoons, for example.
So that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you're going to try and allocate certain times around your workday. But what I was getting at there is how could you take control of that routine? And I think my answer for you would be to pre-prepare your meals. So you have your meals all set up for the day. You know what you're going to have. You have them potentially packed or set already. Right. And then regardless of where you go, you take them with you, or you just quickly pull them out of the fridge and that's ready. So for breakfast, you may have some oats.
You mentioned this early on.
Yeah, so you have the high calories. You're ready to
between shoots or whatever, right?
Your protein shake should have some more carbohydrates in it. It's going to help you get more calories. So now you're just having protein with almond milk. Throw a banana in, throw some oats in. You can even throw just some carbs inside. That's going to help you a lot. What do you reckon? Do you reckon that makes a little bit of sense?
It does, yeah. But it's just, I don't know. It's just that whole idea of meal prep and, having them ready, right? It's like, I'm not sure. It's just... like
this guy's fishing for a Fit Meal sponsorship by the sound of it. Get him on, guys.
It's not even like about like it's quite decently priced, honestly, for what you're getting. It's great. Like that's not the issue. What I'm thinking of is just like it just seems a bit automated. It's like, is that going to be the case for the rest of my life? Like, am I gonna always have meal plans? Is that what you're gonna have for the rest of your
No.
life?
So right now, I think it would be a phase for you. You want to try to gain a certain
Right.
amount of weight. Obviously, while you're busy, unless you're prepared to cook
Right.
or take time to prepare or cook your meals or have someone do that for you, then yeah, there's going to be like, it's like you can't have it all, right? You
Yeah.
can't win it all.
Yeah.
You can't have a busy job and good amounts of money, high level stress, not prepare any of your food and gain muscle tissue and eat your calories without having to do something somewhere.
Right.
That's why the meal prep companies, again, as you all know, I'm obviously with a company called Fit Meals. They pre-prep everything for me. And it makes it a lot easier for me on busy days to just make sure I get the allocated number of calories. Now, so that could be an option for you, which a lot of clients do. The other option could just be you taking time out of your day to pre-prepare things. But also, guys, things that we can do, and we'll kind of try to put more info in this down the line, is you can be smart with your food choices. So the morning you can have oats, berries, protein, done. That meal's sorted. You have a banana for a snack. Here's a quick meal plan, guys. You can get this for free right now. Write it down. Then you get a protein shake, banana, oats, maybe some berries, peanut butter. Throw in some olive oil if you want some extra calories. That'll jump up 100 calories per tablespoon. You won't even taste it.
Yeah.
There's more calories right there. Then the afternoon, maybe some rice cakes, avocado, some eggs, an omelet of some kinds. You can have a few energy bars, oat bars, Be Kind bars, Fade Fits, Pro bars, mate, any fucking bars that you can think of right now. In the dinner, high serving of carbs, potato, sweet potato, rice, pasta with tuna, salmon, chicken, beef, you name it, throw that in there. And then for dessert, I'd make myself like an acai bowl, a protein bowl, or you could have Greek yogurt or coconut yogurt with berries. You could bake some protein bars. I could see you baking some bars potentially as well.
Going to the bar, yes. Baking a protein
At the
bar.
bar. You may even have a Bloody Mary or a cocktail, and you would still probably be within your calories for the night. So basically the answer for you is more food.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
There's no other alternative.
Yeah, genuinely. That's why I probably have opted for junk food and here and there, just trying to cram in
easier.
food.
Yeah.
It's easier, right? It's just there. Like
Yeah.
again, I'm not cooking my food and then like lacking in calories. No, I'm not preparing my meals as you said.
Yeah.
And I'm alternatively going and spending money on like fast food, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is pretty much the same thing. I might as well just meal plan it, right?
So yeah, that's something that a lot of people will say to me is they'll be like, oh yeah, but I'm spending more money when I'm prepping or when I'm buying food and all that kind of stuff. Or it's like, sometimes it's always going to be cheaper making it at home. The meal prep companies will probably end up cheaper than ordering from Deliveroo. So you pick that battle. I think people can make that own decision. But, for me, the simple things done well, don't burn too many calories. Make sure you get your intake the right way and you'll gain size.
Yeah. Like, also though, I mean, there's a lot of different options coming into this, right? Because like I've been told kind of like from close relatives and friends, what do you think about kind of like, I don't know if there's a right way to say this, but like steroid enhancers kind of thing? Like
Yeah,
that
like
kind of
steroids?
Thing? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, look.
Would you think that would be like suitable for someone at my age and my weight? Would that be able to kind of like increase my weight? Just like for thought, right? Like,
Yeah, I get you. Like, I mean,
I'm not actually going to take steroids.
yeah, stick around. We're going to be Issa's first injection live on the podcast. No, basically, guys, it's a big temptation for teens coming from the teenage years into, seeing all your mates, everyone's getting big. Look, there's a pretty big culture in this city that a lot of people are on PEDs, which are performance enhancing drugs. At some point, some are on it constantly. Some are on ridiculous amounts of it. Some will be on it and deny they're on it. Some will be on it and be happy to say that they're on it.
What is a primal?
Hey, what's up, primals? Yeah, this is, this is like, this is each to their own. I don't want to fight against the steroid world today. I've got different views on it. It was a part of my life at one point, which I'm happy to share on future episodes. And we are going to definitely break that down. But yeah, like I think you need to resist that temptation right now because you don't have any of the foundations in place.
Yeah, I'm not eating enough.
Yeah,
anyways, right?
you're too young. So your body's more than capable of developing solid amounts of lean muscle tissue. You're able to push your body to the limits, your mind to the limits, without having to worry about all these unnatural side effects that could cause you, problems now and problems later on in life. Despite that looking like the easy shortcut.
Right.
There is if something's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And that's one of them. So I would say to you, bro, no, stay out of the the dark alleyways. Don't take things off strangers.
Dark
and
side.
do not even think about that road for now until you are getting your calories at least 10 years on from now. When you clear 30, then you can kind of say, well, look, I've tried everything. I've done everything. I'm at my physical genetic limit. And then that's a conversation for another time. But right now, definitely it is not the answer. Cool. Issa, I don't want to take you off because I've actually loved having you on this. He is going to be on the episodes more, guys. So I hope you enjoyed having a little bit of insight. He did put himself on the line there a little bit. Like, it's a bit of a tricky one, just sit in front of me.
Pleasure.
And I'm just hammering him with like advice and questions. He's just like, fuck, I didn't sign up for this. But
it's needed. It's necessary.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of you that can relate to where you're coming from, bro. So I really wanted people to hear like your day, and I think it was very clear straight away that we know where you're going wrong.
Yeah, we know what the problem is, and
now we know what you need to fix.
Exactly. Yeah.
So thank you, bro, for coming on. We will be in touch, guys. You'll see more from Issa very soon.
Thank you so much.
Well, guys, that was Issa, and it was a great little chat. I hope some of you found some insight into the troubles of the skinny guy. We're now going to cut to the skinny girl because, of course, again, that is a large number of you out there that are, for the ladies that are listening, who are feeling like they're skinny. They don't have the shape that they would like. They want to have, I'm going to say, potentially more curves. It's kind of along the similar guidelines, like, it's along the similar guidelines to the males as far as it comes to, taking calories and watching your expenditure. There are a few small other curveballs that we're going to discuss. So I'm very, very, very excited to introduce a very special guest, which I was told to say all of this, joking, of course, is my lovely girlfriend, Victoria. She is joining us today in the hot seat, and she will be our skinny girl case study. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
This is pretty cool.
Kinda.
No?
Yeah, it's cool.
So Vix is, if a lot of you don't know, it was going to happen at some point that obviously she would get onto the podcast. You will see probably a lot more of her over the next couple of months in different topics and different conversations. And a lot of you might not really know her as well as you might know me, just personally, and obviously through socials, I kind of convey my opinion and myself a lot more than she does. So now's a chance to get to know her a little bit better. She's also the mastermind behind a lot of the preparation for the podcast. So she's heavily invested in the production of the Lifestyle Hub. So, of course, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
She would very quickly take credit to being the only reason the podcast is functioning, wouldn't you?
I want my shout out at the end of every podcast.
You can have a shout out, maybe at the end of today. So, Vix, you are on as the skinny girl example. Talk to us about your experience coming into the gym world, and why did you put your hand up to say, hey, yeah, I am a skinny girl?
I didn't. You told me I was a skinny girl.
No, that's not true.
So thanks for that.
That's not true.
No, I'm joking. My experience in the gym, I would say, has got a lot better over the last couple of years. I used to like horse ride, and I was quite active when I was a kid. So I've always been active. I've always been into the gym, but maybe not always knew what I was doing. Since I moved to the UAE 9 years ago, I've had on and off trainers. So I feel like I've learned a fair bit of what I need to do, but for me, it was more of like a confidence boost that I needed. I do understand a lot of the nutrition side that you've been talking about with Issa and the exercises I need to do, but for me, and I think maybe for a lot of women, it's more like going to a gym filled with, these big guys. It's really intimidating.
Steady on, jeez. You're on the podcast with me. Don't be too descriptive.
No, but it's, you know what I mean? It's like, it's quite intimidating for women. So I think that's where maybe I struggled a lot, but
okay.
Yeah.
So why do you define yourself as a skinny girl?
I would say I'm not like the typical skinny girl. Like, I'm not skin and bones. I do have like a little bit of meat and curves on me, but I'm not where I am muscle wise.
Okay.
My goal the last couple of years has been to get more muscle definition.
Why?
Just because it's more appealing to me, and I've had a couple of like looks wise anyway.
Yeah. So that's something that's personal, like your personal goal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Health wise as well, I had a couple of health issues and surgeries, which I was told by the doctors that I need to get more muscle mass.
Okay.
So since then, it kind of has been a bit more of a focus, and I've have learned over the last couple of years, like nutrition, like I studied nutrition during COVID and like did a lot of research into different exercises and stuff. But yeah.
Okay, cool. So you've previously done horse riding. You've been hitting the gym. You know it all by the sounds of it.
No, not all.
But yeah, clearly not everything, because you're not at this point getting to where you want to go. That is in the process of changing. We'll give the old big Kubiak a shout out. So Vic's made the decision to actually start working with a trainer, Ty Kubiak, who is basically a budget trainer who's pretty ugly, and everyone knows Ty. If you know me, you know Ty. Ty is Australian. He was on the One Tribe podcast with me, and Nigel. He is about a 7-foot Australian. He looked like he was born in a prison cell, but he wasn't. He was actually born not far from where I was born, but he is an absolute machine and he knows his stuff. He's going to listen to this, and I'm probably not going to be here next week, but Ty will come on, guys. So it's not about Ty right now, but Ty is actually training Vic at the moment. But this was only a recent decision, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
why did you say to me that day, I need a trainer?
Well, a couple of things. Like I bought quite a few programs, like online programs in the past, which I've showed you the ones, and it's not necessarily that they're bad. Like again, they do educate you in what you need to do, but to have the person in the gym that's going to like push you to do the extra rep, to add the extra weight, that's where it makes a difference. Like I can go to the gym and train at the same weight, which is what I was doing. I was like, I'm in the gym all the time, but like I wasn't seeing big results. Yeah. And I don't think necessarily was all down to what I was eating, because my nutrition's not bad. So yeah, that day when I was like, I want to get a trainer. Also, maybe this is more women will relate to this, is like, you know, if your boyfriend like looks a certain way and is quite popular on like Instagram and whatever, you don't want to like fall behind. I don't want to be like the fat girlfriend, you know. Not that I'm fat or I will get fat, but I want to like be able to for us to feel comfortable together. Like when, you know, we go to the beach or whatever, like I want to be able to look good next to you, because you looking good will make me feel worse. And so many women, I'm sure, will relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's also sometimes where couples will get into a bit of a negative, you know, circumstance where, you know, somebody's obviously not feeling good about themselves, the other person. So it goes two ways. You've got two people that don't feel good about themselves and they're doing nothing about it, and they just feel worse and worse and worse, less attracted, less chemistry, etc. You have the case where one person's doing something about it, the other one feels like their league's out of their league, they feel insecure, low on confidence. The best case scenario would be that both partners are working towards a similar goal, individual goals, preferably in most cases, sometimes not together or together, depending on the type of relationship that you have. But you're ticking boxes, you're feeling confident with yourselves, and you're finding some sort of progression in exercise. So it's actually great that we're both on our own pathway at the moment. Yeah. I think that's helping
things. Which is quite a similar pathway, I think. We're both trying to gain muscle and eat more. And
exactly. We're just trying to like, you know, get aesthetically feeling good and confident. So that's obviously what's led you to working with a trainer. But, you know, before Ty, because obviously he's come through and now and kind of started to get you back on and get all the fundamentals in place, which is a lot of the things that I've spoken about earlier in the podcast today, is before that, you definitely did not eat enough food every day, did you?
No, definitely not. Like, it wasn't that my nutrition's bad. I like healthy food. I eat quite healthy. We were always like cooking healthy together. But yeah, for me, it was the calories, especially if I have like a busy day at work and stuff.
What do you do for work?
I work in private aviation.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, when I was more flying, that's when I did have time to eat. But now I don't fly as often.
Yeah.
And honestly, you just forget to eat. Like when you're busy, like admin, I would say if you have an admin job, some people like listen to this will probably feel the same. You get so distracted and hours go by when you're on the laptop or whatever. You just honestly just forget to eat. It's not that I didn't want to eat. I love eating. Like, you know that I'm not the person that could ever eat like chicken, rice and vegetables every day, all day. Like I have to have tasty food.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was more just like I didn't have time or I forgot.
Yeah, there's two sides of this coin, guys. Like you're probably listening to that going, what? How do you not have time to eat? I just sit at my desk and just eat. You guys are another story, another can of worms that we'll address another time. You're the guys that are probably trying to lose a little bit of weight because you can't stop eating. And that's okay. We'll help you through that. We're going to address that. So there are the other half is like yeah, I have clients, and like Vic's saying, the day's gone, you haven't eaten anything, and you kind of like get home and you're under eating your calories day in, day out. You're definitely, if you're under eating calories, there's a 99% chance, that's not a legit stat, but I'm going to say it is now, that you're probably well under your protein intake, because it is a lot easier for you to grab high carb, high fat food choices than high protein choices. So, for what your protein target should be to probably efficiently develop muscle tissue, you're probably well under. That was something for you as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Like I've tried a few times different meal preps or prepping my own meals or count my calories and all my macros and stuff like that. But I think maybe it's one, I didn't see the results fast enough. So then I would kind of get bored, or I'd get busy, distracted with other things in life, and then slip off again. And then I would try and go back. And now I'm like really trying to stay focused, which is another thing about getting a trainer is you paid for it now. So you better make the most of it. Otherwise it is a waste of money.
Exactly. And that's one of the benefits of obviously trying to get some opinions, some accountability out there with the trainer. Now, let's break the barrier. The more you eat will make you fat. A lot of the time, especially female clients are renowned for this. They'll be like, oh, I don't want to eat that much food. Oh my God, you're giving me so much food, blah, blah, blah. It's going to make me fat. Have you ever felt like that?
100%. There was like a long period of time where I wouldn't eat bread or pasta because I was like, no, it's too many calories. I can't eat that. Whereas now that's like, I eat that all the time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really until like I studied nutrition that I understood that I need all of that. And, there's fiber in all of these things that you need, like calcium and stuff. So I think it's obviously super important, like you're saying, but
that's right.
I think there is a misconception under a lot of women that like, if you eat too much, you are going to get fat, which maybe you will, if you want to put on muscle, which I'm trying to do, there probably will be a little bit of fat that I put on initially, but definitely. I need to do that. Like now I understand that I need to do that until before I will see the results anyway. Yeah,
definitely. Like eating more calories is definitely generally not the issue for you lot, like who are concerned about that. Like a lot of the time people confuse the two things between, you could have 1,200 calories, which could be, your pasta, pancakes for breakfast, and let's say, a takeout for dinner, and that could easily be 1,200 or more. But then you could also, when we come to using clean sources, that could actually be like 10 different meals in the day. You could have a clean breakfast, oatmeal, eggs on toast, omelet, and then you could have your mid-morning snack, which could be copious amounts of fruit, like a fruit salad with some yogurt. Honestly, you could be eating all day long to try and hit the same calorie target. Now, that's hard to sustain for someone who's not used to eating. And it comes back to a similar thing we chatted to with Issa. It's just having the plan, allocating potentially times in your day that you can break away to eat meals. Mm-hmm. Do you have any go-tos on how to eat more calories, like when you've not had enough? Like, do you have any little tricks that you try to use?
Not really. Like if I'm under calories, like some of my favorite snacks is like what are them? They're like not rice cakes, but the ribita. Yeah. Ribita cakes with like tuna on top or with avocado. I like to snack on them, but to be honest, eating more calories has been easier since I've been on the meal plan. Yeah.
Another shout out to Fit Meals. Yeah. Jason G. 10,
to be honest, 10%. I've tried so many. Jason Greener. Jason G10 for 10% off. Yes. No, since I've been doing that, I've found it much easier, especially if I'm busy in the day. I just take my meals with me. Like when I've been going to work, I've been taking it with me.
Yeah, and that's helping you hit your calories.
Yeah, it's definitely helping me get the calories in.
Yeah.
Another thing that I struggled with as well, I have such a sweet tooth, which I know you do as well. Yours is definitely worse than mine. Yours,
I haven't had a carbohydrate since 2008.
This guy eats so much sweet stuff.
Bullshit.
You would never believe it. Anyway,
that's not true.
This is not what we're talking about, but I also have a sweet tooth. So I feel like I can't end my day until I've had something sweet.
Yeah.
Like it used to be like tubs of ice cream. Like I could eat so clean and hit all my macros all day. And I know I would just eat ice cream at the end of the day because I wouldn't feel satisfied until I did. But now I have these like peanut butter truffles. They're like peanut butter and dark chocolate, I think. Truffles. Okay. Like they're 200 calories each. Yeah. And I get them from the meal plan.
Yeah.
But it just kind of like satisfy, like if I have that after my meal, the sweetness just kind of
it's good to have a little like tactic there.
Yeah, so I think like if you do have a sweet tooth, having something sweet that's kind of not too bad after your meal can stop you snacking throughout the night.
Yeah, definitely. You've had one every day this week.
I have. We do fight about it because you sometimes steal them from me,
Yeah,
and I only have one per day.
The one in there tonight's gone. So we can talk about that later.
Better not me.
So let's just quickly touch on the change to lifting heavier to build muscle. So quite often the misconception for a lot of females in particular is like, I need to do high reps to get toned. Well, guys, toning is basically what happens when you have when muscle tissue meets low body fat. That equals tone. That word that's so often thrown around is not accurate one, but it basically would imply that you are wanting to see more shape. So you need to focus on two things, getting the body fat down and getting the muscle up, but then leaves most women in a really tricky position because you're kind of like, well, how do I gain muscle and lose fat at the same time? You can't really. So it's all about finding that balance between definition and body fat. And then you get stuck in this spot where it's like, well, which do I do? You need to pick one. Okay, you need to really pick one. So you need to go through a muscle gaining phase where you would go through a calorie surplus. You would lift heavier compound lifts in the gym, eat more regularly, focus on sleep and recovery. And then once you've got to a set weight or you feel like you're starting to lose too much definition, then you can go through like a mini cut where you do a small cut just to like trim the edges, or you'd go through a bit more of a solid cut where you drop the fat down and then all that hard-earned muscle tissue that you've been working on building is now more visible. So, have you noticed that there was a period during your training regime where you thought that doing more reps, lighter weight, higher volume was better for you?
Maybe like years ago, but I feel like I've known that I need to go heavy, but it's more I'm scared to when I'm training, especially because I've had surgeries and stuff and injuries in the past.
Yeah.
I'm honestly just scared. Like if I'm going to do a heavy squat, like if I feel my knee, which is where I had surgery, like starting to feel a bit weak, I just won't push myself, even though that I need to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I see a lot of people, we've spoken about this because we have friends that like do a lot of HIIT training. But honestly, it's just never been, I just don't enjoy it. I can't run on a treadmill for like 30 minutes and then do weights. Like, it's just not my thing. I hate HIIT training. I do prefer weight training with like lit cardio at the end. But yeah.
Okay. No. Yeah, no, I get what you're trying to say. So basically, like, what we need to kind of steer away from is the misconception for a lot of people is that, and you'll see a lot of like different celebrities or athletes or coaches endorsing this as like high reps, low weight volume, doing 50 reps or like lateral raises will get you the shoulders out of your dreams.
Yeah.
They've probably gotten their physiques either from like, just one, it's genetics, years of training, but probably just following a basic gym plan.
Yeah.
That's not like this high volume bullshit.
And you see this on Instagram as well. All these like fitness influencers, like they're doing a home workout with like 4 kg weights, but they've got a huge ass, like strong legs. And I'm like, you don't look like that from doing it. So it's giving everyone the misconception like, oh, you can look like this if this is how you train, and you're not going to train. If you do HIIT workouts and cardio all the time, you'll might burn calories, but that's all you're doing. Really.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So you performing heavy compound lifts like your squats, deadlifts, glute bridges, strong lunges, rows, pull-ups, push-ups, chest press, all your fundamental lifts is going to give you the most chance of building efficient amount of muscle tissue. In your case, Victoria, like something that you want to think about would be if you had those concerns prior to getting a trainer or pre-getting a trainer, you would focus on doing less risky maneuvers. So like, you'd spend more time on a leg press rather than a barbell squat where it's less variability on like, injury, stability, balance, setup, etc. You're able to just hop on, lift a heavy amount of weight. It's all set up for you. It's quite easy to do. That's where, your experience level comes into this, guys. So if you're less experienced, you'd be doing easier, more straightforward lifts. And as you get more experience or you'll start working with an expert, then you can do more challenging, difficult exercises. So what would you say, advice from your side now that you know a little bit more for women who are trying to gain more shape and size in this department?
I mean, I don't think I'm a great person to talk because I'm not where I want to be yet, but maybe just to take the steps towards starting that journey
Yeah.
is like, if you have the money, just invest in a coach.
Yes.
It's like super important. And people say to me like, why have you got a coach when your boyfriend's a coach?
Yeah. And why is that?
To be honest, like I can ask you anything I want any time of the day, but the times when I want to train, which is in the mornings, kind of peak hours, you're not available because you have clients.
Yeah.
And also it's kind of like if I'm working all day, like planning something for whatever I might be doing, and then I come home from work and then you're asking me questions about that, it's maybe will put a strain on our relationship. If, you know, what you do for work, it shouldn't have to be about our whole life as well.
Yeah.
So even though it's nice when we train together, we do a lot of activities together as well. But like when I need like a coach, I need someone to hold me accountable, and it's easy to say no to you because if you're telling me to add extra weight, I'll just be like, no.
Yeah,
Whereas if it's someone else, I'm more likely to be a bit like, especially Ty, because he's huge, I'd be scared to say no.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. That's something that a lot of the times, like you don't want to have that situation where, you know, you're blurring the lines with the relationship, and then it comes from, I have to try to give some sort of like authority or education. It just can kind of make things a little bit tricky. So that's why I think it's always good to kind of keep those separate. I'm happy that you're working with somebody now, and I do think that does help a lot of people as far as, you know, upskilling goes.
Yeah. I also think as well to not believe everything you see on Instagram. Okay. Like all these fitness people, like these home workouts or the easy workouts that they're showing you, that is not how they look, how they do.
Yeah. From a muscle building perspective, guys, those HIIT workouts can burn calories to drop fat. Yeah. That can work. But today's episode is about for the skinny guy, skinny girl. If you're a skinny guy, skinny girl doing home workouts with high volume, light weights, you're probably still not happy with how you've actually progressed. And
then also don't be scared to eat, which I think most people are, especially, well, women anyway. Just don't be scared to eat. Like I was one of them back in the past, like scared to eat too many calories, like scared to eat bread or pasta. Like now I like pasta's pretty much on my daily list.
Yeah, you hammer that.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, it's been lovely having you on for this episode. So obviously I think we've covered a lot of the main areas when it comes to like a skinny female trying to obviously, you know, juggle times in the gym. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't know really. Maybe like what's your opinion on supplements for women? Like today I was asking you about creatine.
Yeah.
I asked Ty as well, but like what's like because there's just so many things that women can take, well, men as well, and it's quite overwhelming. What's like a...
Yeah, I mean,
what would you recommend anyway for someone trying to gain muscle?
I think creatine's a good one. Quite often it's just thought that it should be for men only. No, females can obviously benefit from creatine as well. So it's definitely something that you can throw into a strength phase of a program. Just take into account that it will generally retain a little bit more water. So if you are tracking your scale weight, it could, you know, you could see some variability, but also in saying that you don't want to track your scale too strictly as a female, because there'll be very frequent fluctuations, you know, with obviously menstrual cycles. In your case, Vix, you're flying a lot, so that would also affect your scale weight. So that's something to keep in mind. But creatine, I would say your typical, you know, vitamins and minerals would help. Fish oils, vitamin D, iron potentially, depending on the person. You know, magnesium obviously for recovery because you're lifting a lot heavier. Protein powder is a good one to have. And then you could have, you know, an EAA or like an amino acid of some kind. They're not a game changer, but it's always good to kind of just have in the system, or a bit of an electrolyte to help with, keeping your fluids up. But yeah, that I wouldn't overcomplicate it. Creatine and protein from a supplement point is probably all you need.
Okay, great. So I can use yours later.
No, you won't be using mine. Yeah, you use mine. So
I
guys,
use it anyway. You just don't know.
Yeah, probably not. So guys, thank you. Thanks, Vix, for obviously coming on. It was amazing having you on. We will see you plenty more down the line for a range of different topics. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Lastly, guys, so I want to kind of summarize things. We are, wrapping up for today. That was episode 5. We had 2 amazing guests on that obviously very close to me, and I hope they applied or they helped show you a few little tips from their perspectives. Next week, we have a few special guests coming up over the next month. We have a ex-professional footballer who has a Champions League medal or title to his name, which I'm very excited to share with you. And we have also, we're going to dive into the world of canine training with the expert of Dubai, which I will share and announce with you guys over the next couple of weeks. So please stay tuned. Lastly, I do have a quick favor to ask before we go. If you're enjoying the podcast, please let me know. If you have a minute to spare, I'd love to read your reviews. This lets me know what listeners like or disliked about the show so I can make sure to give you all content you love to hear. Please subscribe to the podcast in your app that you're listening to so you can receive new episodes right when they're released. Before we go, I'd like to give one shout out to our sponsor, Ghana Fitness, the leading home and commercial gym specialist in the Middle East. Be sure to check them out, www.ghana.ae, for all your fitness needs. If you need some home equipment, they've got it all there. Plenty of weights, plenty of bands, some very cutting edge technology to help get you in shape. So take a look. Guys, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me, Jason Grimmer, on the Lifestyle Hub podcast. I'll catch you later.